Hello and welcome to the first Let's Learn weekly review. For those of you who don't know and haven't been by the Twitch, the Let's Learn is a scenario where we'll pick a god for the day and try and learn the gear builds by using various sources from Google, Spyfires, so many different choices out there, and trying out the gear builds together with the previous knowledge of people watching live. Uh, and really get these gods kind of figured out and get them utilized well in the 3v3 structure of Joust in Season 3 of Smite. This week, we did 5 gods, and we started off, we had Bacchus. Really strong tank. We then went into Geb, trying out a different type of tank, which we'll cover in a little while. Then going into Kali, the powerhouse of Kali. I'm going to dive your tower and get that kill secure, Kali. And then we went to Freya. I did not know how great she was, but we will cover how strong Freya is in 3v3 Joust in a little while. And then we finished off with Odin. Just unbelievable early game and sustained throughout. These 5 gods were an eye-opening experience, and really thanks to help to the people who watch live, also joining in by giving gear builds and advice on meta for the gods that they have a lot of experience in out of the 5, and really just the process of doing it all together was a great blast. But you know, let's get into game and let's look at the gods and the gear builds, and we'll do a review. All right, here we are in the game screen. Let's X all that out, and we'll start off with the first god of Bacchus. Now, Bacchus, a quick run through of his abilities. Bacchus loves to drink. Bacchus drinks from his jug. He becomes more intoxicated, getting buffs when he gets tipsy and smashed. So you're going to be doing a lot of drinking if you play Bacchus, and it's going to make you that much stronger. You're going to want to be smashed at all times with Bacchus. If Bacchus isn't bobbing and weaving, Bacchus is not being Bacchus. So you're going to use his one all the time. Bacchus takes a drink from his jug, giving him additional buffs. Bacchus celebrates when he kills an enemy god, giving him 10% on his meter, blah, blah, blah. He gets a little more drunk when he gets a kill. But you're going to want to have your meter filled up to the max. It's going to make every ability you use just so much stronger and be at its full potential. His 2, Bacchus jumps into the air and not so gracefully comes slamming to the ground, belly first, knocking all enemies into the air and dealing damage. If he is tipsy, all enemies are also slowed after they land. The jump is so important for Bacchus. Getting that knock up on the people is so important. So being tipsy, being smashed is going to help you ensure this is happening, that the knockup's happening, the slow is happening. This helps him be so aggressive with his initiations, his jump-ins, his help at enabling his damage dealers do what they can do. There he goes with a burp right there. Let's go into his 3, his Belch of the Gods. It sounds like a belch of the gods. Bacchus lets out an obnoxiously loud belch, doing damage every 0.5 seconds for 2 seconds. If he is tipsy, enemies are stunned for 1 second and their healing is debuffed. Bacchus is immune to knockback for the duration. So you jump in with his 2, you get the knock up from that, you're already tipsy, so you're getting the extra, what was it, enemies are also slow, so you're getting a slow from that, so now they're not running away from you as fast as they could, and now you're doing this burp. It is really a strong combination, because you figure you're getting that slow, they're not running away. You did a knock-up, so you stop them from moving in general. If you have, let's say, a Nath or something with CC, this together is just going to stop that focus target in their tracks. And even if they have a tank, you're going to be able to do enough damage to keep that damage dealer on the enemy team out of the fight. It's going to hamper them so much. Definitely give it a shot. You're going to want to jump in, you're going to want to burp, and then in those scenarios where you need that extra drunkenness on your enemy team, here you go, intoxicate. Bacchus smashes his jug of wine on the ground, intoxicating all nearby enemies and doing damage. If he is smashed, Bacchus also gains a magical power buff because of his anger over his lost wine. He is mad he wasted his wine. It's gonna get everyone on the enemy team running around in random directions, unable to control their characters, giving your damage dealers enough time to just do all the damage that they can do, be the damage dealer they can be, And with Bacchus' survivability and ability to jump and stun and do all these things, he's going to just be walking around as his drunk Bacchus-y self and just staying in the fight, hampering the fight, chasing you, jumping over walls. Like, he is just so strong. In my opinion, Bacchus, top tier tank in 3v3 Joust. After playing him this week, I already knew from versing him in 3v3 Joust in the journey of ranked and everything that he was already a great tank, but playing him and really getting to learn him was just an eye-opening experience, and I've never had more fun playing a tank than what I did with Bacchus. Let's go into the gear, though. The first three pieces of gear are kind of interchangeable. Depending on the comp you're versing and the comp you have, these three pieces here, Shoes of Focus, Bulwark of Hope, and Breastplate of Valor, are kind of interchangeable. You're going to want to probably, though, more often than not, get the Breastplate of Valor. It's going to give you the extra mana. You can get physical protection and then 20% cooldown reduction. With Bacchus, you want to have that jump. You want to have that burp. You want to have that ult. You want to be able to drink as fast as you can. You know, you want your abilities up as often as possible. Bacchus is one of those initiators that could jump in as often as possible, do all these abilities, get his damage dealers doing damage, do the poke that the damage dealers might not be able to easily do. So much to Bacchus. Having that physical protection, at least you're not gonna have to worry about maybe a hunter or something like that. You're gonna have a little more survivability against them. And Bulwark of Hope, now you're going to get extra health, you're going to lower the crowd control reduction, magical protection. At this time, really all three of these pieces you can get in any order. You don't necessarily need your shoes yet, you don't need the movement speed, but these three pieces together as first three pieces of gear felt very strong on Bacchus. Then after that, depending on what you're going to get, you could then get, Mystical Mail if you're feeling like, okay, I'm not taking that much damage. Let me get a little bit extra physical protection. Let me get quite a bit extra health, and I'm going to do more damage. With Bacchus, you kind of stay in the fight sometimes so long due to his natural protections that the Mystical Mail is going to help you sometimes finish off that last kill, and sometimes you could turn into the bad damage dealer that the enemy team is worried about. Like, oh gosh, this Bacchus, like, his damage dealers, we could take out their Hebo, but then Bacchus is just jumping at us, knocking us up, burping, and doing so much damage. At this point in time, the Mystical Mail really was kind of coming in handy. Then I would get the Void Stone. You get magical power, magical protection, and then you're reducing magical protection of enemies within 55 units. So if you're the only magic dealer on your team, Void Stone might not help out too much. But, for the comps we were using, Void Stone was really coming in handy. And at this time, the extra magic power really didn't hurt. And I didn't feel like I needed much more tankiness. But if I did feel I needed much more tankiness, High the Urchin, I would move it in maybe fourth piece. In tanks, all the pieces are going to be kind of like dependent on what's happening in the fights, what's happening in the comps, and having the extra, 33 physical protection, 35 physical protection, 35 magic protection, extra health, extra mana, and you gain +3 magic protection, +3 physical protection for each god killer assist, max of 10 stacks. So that's another 30 on top of those, 65. It's a pretty strong tank piece if you're just looking for protections. If you want to maybe go over your cooldown reduction cap and get that same amount, almost same amount of protection in physical and magical, Mantle of Discord doesn't hurt. Being over your cooldown cap is not all that horrible. Having that extra shockwave below 30% of health, getting that shockwave of CC, in a lot of the fights with Bacchus could be the difference between Bacchus dying or the entire enemy team dying. That CC and then letting your damage dealers be able to do the damage and you doing damage, it comes in handy. But all these pieces past these first three are all interchangeable depending on what you're doing, what you're versing, what's the scenario happening. But definitely these first three, just beyond good. And then Gem of Isolation was in there. We kind of tinkered with it. It wasn't horrible, but the rest of these pieces, pretty strong. Let's go into the next god of Geb. Alright, now Geb is going to be a little bit different than Bacchus. Geb is more of a sustained tank, but we'll get into that in a second. So his passive crits only do 25% damage to Geb rather than normal 100%. So if you're versing hunters and stuff like that are doing crit builds, Geb is a great tank to have in that scenario. They're not going to be doing as much damage as they could possibly do. That's 70%, 75% reduction of the crit damage. So that passive really helps. Then you get the rollout. Geb turns into massive rolling earth, damaging slowing enemies he encounters, stopping the first god he hits. He increases speed as he travels, his damage scaling 50% to maximum over 3 seconds. And once he hits top speed, Geb becomes CC immune, blah, blah, and will also knock back enemy gods. This ability I found I used to mainly get back to lane, or to get to the other side of a fight if maybe they went back lane of my damage dealers or my damage dealers were overly rotated. It comes in handy for that movement capability. And also, if you get the chance to build up the roll, you can knock someone away. So maybe the enemy team's at the fire giant, you go roll straight in there, you're CC immune, they can't stop you, you roll into the damage dealer that's on that, fire giant, or maybe the guy who's tanking the fire giant, and you can really hamper the situation and give the chance for your damage dealers to do what they could do. Then you got his shockwave. Geb creates a shockwave which ripples out from him in a cone, causing damage and knock up to all enemies. The damage decreases the further the enemy is from Geb, down to 50% at the maximum range. This knock up, Geb's not really a damage dealing tank. It's not going to do a ton of damage, but it is going to be enough to hamper, the enemies in fight. Getting that knock up, stopping them from moving for that split second, it really, in many scenarios, help if your damage dealer is trying to run away, or if you're trying to give the chance for your damage dealer to get into the fight, getting the knock up, keeping that damage dealer there. If you're versing a Ho Yi or something that has like a jump, they're going to be able to jump away most likely at that point. But if you've got Blink Geb and stuff, you're blinking in, your damage dealers can usually get a CC hit and do a ton of damage in that scenario. But Shockwave, more of a sustain for your team, and knock up, it's going to really come in handy in the scenarios of saving your team, if you can really time it well and get it off in time. Then you have Stone Shield, another sustain ability for your team. Geb targets himself or an ally, put a shield around. The shield blocks all damage and lasts until the time expires or it takes enough damage to be destroyed. The shield also cleanses any CC when applied. So if you got maybe an enemy that's got a root or a stun, it's gonna save your teammate because it's gonna give them that extra health, pretty much, that shield health, and it's gonna take them out of CC, so they're gonna be taken out of the danger zone in the fight and gonna be able to live to fight another day in most scenarios. It works best if Geb's got teammates on his team that have stun and also jump abilities or backflips, like the backflip on Nath, something so that they can get that shield, get out, or get that shield while they're in and CCing and doing damage and layering their CCs. The sustain of Geb really comes in handy in 3v3, and since it's 3v3, it's not as big of a map. Geb can kind of get around it so fast with his roll and just general movement speed that you're going to be in these fights doing the shield often. Getting the shield to max, I found, really came in handy. That shield was in and of itself a damage ability, on top of everything else, because giving that extra health to your teammate, giving them that extra survivability, gave them the chance in so many scenarios to do the crazy amount of damage that they could do. But yeah, Stone Shield, get it learned. Cataclysm. It's his ult. Geb pulls apart the earth, dealing magical damage to all enemy gods based on a percentage of their current health and stunning them. It basically knocks them up and stuns them in place. It's basically his shockwave, but it does a little more damage, and it's a big area. In 3v3 Joust, often Geb can get this off on all three enemy characters with no problem. since all the lanes are so small, or if you're fighting in the jungle. The only area where you might run into problem with it is maybe if you're at the enemy Titan, or you're at the Fire Giant. You might not get everyone in on it, but usually you're going to have an easy time having all three of the enemies in on this. And at that point, if your damage dealers are focused targeting the right targets, the squishy targets, or even the enemy tank, this together with the Shockwave and the shield is going to give the sustain you need for your damage dealers to do what they really need to do. But let's look into the God Builder. A lot of pieces, very similar to the Bacchus that we had before. But then again, with tanks, you will run into scenarios that you might want different pieces. So this isn't the end-all, be-all build, as well as the box build. It's not the end-all, be-all. But what we did, it's kind of, you could do the same three pieces, the Shoes of Focus, Breastplate of Valor, and Bulwark of Hope, kind of interchangeable again, but with Geb, you kind of want to get your cooldown reduction as fast as possible because that shield is so important. I would definitely recommend Breastplate of Valor first. That extra mana, letting you stay in lane a little bit longer, letting you be more aggressive with your shielding and your shockwaves, it really helped out a lot. It was more help than the 10% from the Shoes of Focus. Shoes of Focus can give you some mana, it's going to give you the cooldown reduction, but, I mean, either of these, whatever your flavor is, go for it. If you also have a build different start, comment in the video, let me know, and I'll give it a try live. I have no problem with that. But yeah, these two pieces, pretty good starters. If you're versing a comp that has a lot of magical power, maybe a Hebo's on the enemy team, he's poking you down a lot, not letting you stay in lane, maybe get the Bulwark as fast as you can. It's going to lower that damage a little bit, and it's going to give you that survivability at the low health. But these three pieces, still, in the builds I was doing, they were kind of guaranteed. I was using them in most of the fights, and they were working well. Mid-game, I was feeling very strong once I had these three pieces. You can overcap the cooldown reduction again with Mantle on this one, but usually I wasn't using Mantle too much. It's not horrible, but it could work. You could make it work if you get the pen boots instead of Shoes of Focus, so you're not going over your cap, and you can feel maybe you're doing a little bit more damage to the enemy tank. But since Geb isn't that much of a damage dealer, it's more so on getting the shields off when you can, the knockups, the ults, and then really damage. Not like the Bacchus. Bacchus can do a lot on his own damage-wise. If his damage dealers are staying back, he's very strong. But with this build, these four, they weren't horrible. I did quite often get Wingblade. A lot of the comps I was versing had crowd control, that I wanted to reduce that crowd control reduction so I can get that shield off, so they couldn't just stun me and then kill my damage dealer. Lowering the crowd control really helped out a lot. It's not an expensive piece, $18.50. It wasn't bad. And then finishing off with Void Stone, lowering their protection a little bit, getting the magic power, getting a little bit more magic protection on top of everything. It didn't hurt. You could throw in the Mystical Mail. We did tinker around with it. It wasn't the best piece. It wasn't horrible, but it really wasn't the best piece. It did for Geb. He does stay in quite a long time, so if your damage dealers aren't doing a ton of damage, you want to help out that little bit, it doesn't hurt, because by this point in time, for 6th piece of gear, it's not horrible. Now, disregard this order you see here. It's just really to show the stats here on this side with that 6th piece, so you can see the protections and everything. I mean, you're not fully near the cap on your protections, but you're quite a ways there. And with the Geb shield on top of all that and your maxed cooldown, you're pretty survivor friendly at this time. But give it a shot. Let's go on to the next god we went into was Kali. The I'm going to dive your tower, I'm going to kill secure, I'm going to do so much god for 3v3. A random enemy god is selected as Kali's death mark. Kali gains a physical penetration bonus against that god and heals 80% of her max health for killing the god, or 15% for earning an assist. Gold bounty from that god is increased by 30%. You want to hit your focus targets. A new death mark is selected anytime her current target dies, or if Kali dies, it is set to whoever last, hit her. But you want to get your focus target. You want to get to that extra gold. You want to get all the gear you possibly can as fast as you can, and getting that health back in your focus target gives you the capability of diving the towers and getting your health back and living to fight another day of running around the back end or whatever you need to do, or diving even a fire giant if they're on fire. You can get that kill if your focus target's the one lowest health or even highest health. Kali does a ton of damage. Her one, Kali leaps forward, damaging enemies in the target area and healing herself for a percent of their missing health. So you see someone who's your focus target, maybe they're not the lowest in health. Jump to the lowest health person. You're going to have movement speed. You're going to have attack speed. You're going to be able to get to the other person. Take that life steal, maybe if you're at half health, from that lower target. Maybe you get the kill on them. Maybe you try start on them, and then you move over to your focus target. But you're going to want to pay attention to that. Who's got the lowest health? Who's going to give you the most life steal for that jump? It's definitely something to pay attention to. But Nimble Strike, not the most important ability. I would talk about Lash. Kali throws several blades that converge upon the target location. Each does damage and causes bleed. Kali gains physical lifesteal against targets affected by this bleed. You want to have it pretty much on all 3 targets, just in case. You never know if you're going to need to change target, you're going to need to hit someone else. You want to have that physical lifesteal. It is so important. Getting it up to max, it starts off at 5%. If you get up to level 5, you're going to get 25%. It is so strong. If you put this together mid-game with, an AC or something, it's gonna really come out to a lot of lifesteal. You're gonna feel very strong in the fights. You're gonna be able to stay in the fights that much longer. And then if you need to get that extra health mid-fight, if you've got, your one-off cooldown, boom, go into your Nimble Strike. Jump at that target that's lowest health just to get the lifesteal, and then Lash, and now you're hidden again. And then the best, Incense. You're going to be able to stun them on top of everything. Kali hurls the incense at her feet. Exploding it, enemies hit are stunned while Kali gains physical power bonus. It is not the ability you want to level first. The 2 is definitely what you want to get to max because of that lifesteal. But having that stun on top of all this other stuff is so important. So you get in your lifesteal, you're initiating with your 2, you're jumping into the lowest health target or your focus target, whichever. If you kill the focus target quick, boom, jump to it. But if it's a tank, maybe jump to the damage dealer, get the kill on that person first, so they're not hitting you while you got the long journey of killing the tank. And then after all that, boom, destruction. Kali becomes an unstoppable force of destruction, creating a damage aura around her. During this time, she can be reduced to 1 health, but cannot die. She is immune to knock-up, slow effects, and protected from root, but still vulnerable to stuns. If Kali is under 15% of her total health at the end of the duration, she will heal to 15% health. So, at the point in the fight, if you're at, 2% health, pop your ult. Get the chance to stay in the fight a little bit longer, or jump away to live and fight another day. This destruction ability is why Kali is so strong in 3v3 Joust. She has that capability. If you're at a quarter health and you sit at the back of tier 1 tower or at the back of the Phoenix or even by Titan, she could jump into you and try and get that kill on you to get her focus target kill and get that extra gold and get all her health back and then be able to jump back out. And with the gear you can build, she can be running so fast, attacking so fast. There's no way you can fight it once you hit mid-game. If she hasn't been stopped, if you haven't kept her from getting her focus targets, she can be so strong at this point. It is unbelievable. But let's look at the God Builder we did. You can see in this build, there's a lot of pieces here. There's a lot of different pieces. You've got tanky pieces, you've got hunter pieces, you've got a lot of attack speed shown here. There's 2 basic builds that we tried in the Let's Learn, and they worked out pretty well. Now let me clear this out. Okay, so what we often did was we started with Ninja Tabby. You want to get that attack speed, 15% attack speed from the start. You can have this piece of gear once the match starts. Getting that movement speed, getting that attack speed, getting to move around faster than everyone else that's there. If Hunters building Transcendence, boom, you've got extra movement speed. They're not getting away from you as easily unless they have a jump or a peel or something, which most Hunters kind of do. But it helps to kind of keep you on that target a little bit better in the early game, which Kali is not the full-on king of. Since she doesn't have her ult, usually by that point, you don't have too much life steal from her too. you're going to want that movement speed and that attack speed especially. Then we would go into the Hasten Fatalis. I often call it the Hasten Putalis because it's so strong. It's such a great piece for Kali especially. 30% attack speed, 10% movement speed on top of the attack speed and movement speed you have from the Ninja Tabby. When basic attack hits target, the attacking movement speed debuff is removed from you for 1 second. Basically, at this point, you're moving faster than everyone else, you're attacking faster than everyone else, and you're moving at the same speed even while you're attacking. So if they're turning around to try and damage you at this point, if it's a hunter and they're trying to basic attack you, or a mage and they're trying to basic attack you, they're taking a slow. They're not moving as fast as they possibly could, and you're just sitting there at max speed doing circles around them. It's like, good luck, hunter, getting that basic attack off. I'm just going to move circles around you, and I'm going to kill you. And you're my focus target, so I'm going to get all my health back, and now I'm going to start hitting your mage or your tank, and like, whatever the next focus target is. These two pieces for the first two pieces, so strong in 3v3. Definitely try. If you have a different build though, yet again, let us know in the comments, come by the live stream, throw out an idea. We'll give it a shot. Never hurts. Then we went into kin size. Oh, I love kin size. I use it on hunters. It's like having salt on food. It's so great right now. You've got 40 physical power, 15% to attack speed. At this point, you're sitting at 2.03 attack speed in your build. It is blazingly fast. With Kali, you're seeing all four of those arms just go crazy, doing so much damage. But then on top of that, on basic attack hits, deal physical damage equal to 4% of the target's maximum health. This only affects gods. Not going to be on minions, but 4% of the target's maximum health. Now, if your focus target is a tank, you're doing 4% extra damage from the total of their health, which is going to be elevated in comparison to everyone else. This is going to make you much stronger against the tanks. You don't need to worry about protections. It's just their health. This is the extra damage every basic's going to do, and you're hitting basics at 2.03 attack speed right now. So it is so beast, especially for Kali, who already has the lifesteal capabilities. Your 2 is probably sitting at, it's max 5 level right now. You're doing 25% lifesteal as long as you've gotten your 2 off on everybody. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, this piece. At this point in time, with these 3 pieces, I felt like a god. I did. I felt like I was able to do whatever I wanted to do at that moment, and it was very, very strong. Now, after this point is where kind of the build kind of diverges. You can go in different directions. Often what I would get would be the Titan's Bane, just straight pen. I've already got the kin size. Now I want to do more damage to the tank. And maybe a damage dealer, maybe they got a warrior, maybe there's a damage dealer that ended up getting a tanky piece to protect against a Kali, because maybe you've gotten a couple of kills and they don't want to die to you. So 30 physical power on top of the physical power you already have. And then all of your physical attacks gain 33% physical penetration. So at this time, now you've got a really good amount of pen. You've got the kin size already. The tank is not going to be a worry for you. Granted, it's still going to take a little while because they have so much health to break through, and often abilities to get away from you and hamper your progression. But it's really, at this point, I felt very strong, and I felt I had the pen that I really needed to last me to kind of the late game. But then I would add in the AC. So you already have a ton of lifesteal. Not a ton, but a quarter, out of the full of lifesteal. Why not add more to it? So now you're going to add 15% physical lifesteal on top of everything else. You get 20% attack speed. So now you're sitting at 2.23 out of 2.5. You're near the max of your attack speed. Those 4 arms are going nuts. And then, physical pen on top of that. Another 15 on top of everything else. You're pretty much going to be hitting, with a kin size and everything, you're going to be hitting so much that even tanks don't want to really deal with you at this point. And then if you drop below 35% health, you gain additional 25% physical lifesteal for 5 seconds. Can only occur once every 15 seconds. 15 seconds is really short. It's a very short cooldown, and getting an additional 25% physical lifesteal for 5 seconds on top, if you did your 2, you already have 25%, so now you're getting 50% physical lifesteal on top of everything. And your Kali, if you get to that low health, below 35% health, you have your ult. So that 5 seconds of lifesteal on top of everything else, it's going to help you a lot. And then that ult's there to save you, just in case the lifesteal upon lifesteal isn't helping you. But it can at least delay the need to pop that ult. And then last piece, it really became just like a what is the scenario we're running into. You could get Bulwark if maybe they're protecting their Titan too well. You can get High Anemian Lion if they have a Hunter that's doing the most damage to you. Reflect that basic attack damage back at them. So many pieces you can get at this time. It doesn't fully matter. Usually as Kali, you're gonna be pretty set. I did try and get Rage and Deathbringer. The crits didn't hurt. It really didn't hurt. You're going to get more physical power, 20% critical strike chance, and pretty much a guarantee. Max of 6 stacks. You're doing those 6 hits so fast, you're going to get that 6 stacks within that one initiation. It really wasn't working out too bad. She's just so strong. Definitely try it out. The other build, though, I would throw out there, instead of going Titan's Bane and Aussie, maybe Executioner and, Aussie, you're going to be at near the max of your attack speed there, 2.48. Executioner, you're getting 30 physical power, 25% attack speed, and basic attacks against an enemy reduce your target's physical protection by 8% for 3 seconds, max of 4 stacks. You're going to take down the protections of that tank or whoever you're trying to hit so well, and you're at pretty much the max of your attack speed. You're going to do it so fast. This is going to get at that max 4 stacks within that initiation, and then even on the next target that you might need to hit, you're going to get it to the max stacks on them as well in no time at all. Then at that point, it's kind of just on, well, what do you want to get? Maybe throw in a Rage, the Bulwark again, and, High Anemian, depending on what you're versing. The 6-piece really, it matters, but it's completely situational. You can't really plan ahead for it. But, these pieces, definitely give them a shot. And if you have a different build, definitely let me know. I would love to try it out. But that build, I can say, from this week's Let's Learn, was very strong. Second to last is honestly my most surprising and favorite from this week's Let's Learn, Freya. Freya's necklace grants her additional magical lifesteal. Magical lifesteal 15% from the start of the match to the end of the match. It's just there. It's just available to you. Enjoy the lifesteal. Have a ball with it, because it's going to keep you alive from early game to end game, and it's so strong. Irradiate. Freya activates a buff that makes her basic attacks do additional magical damage. If you're hitting one target with your 2 or your regular attacks and everything, getting that extra damage per attack is just like turning on the pain train and just ramming into the target. It is crazy strong. But if there's multiple targets, where Freya comes in strongest is with Pulse. Freya activates a buff that makes her basic attacks ranged, dealing additional magic damage and slowing the target and all nearby enemies. The area effect and slow is lost when Irradiate is active. So, when multiple targets, don't pop your 1. When single target, pop your 1 on top of the Pulse. So you're doing more damage with your Pulse, ranged single target damage. But Pulse, usually, you're not going to have to put a Radiate on it, because it's going to do enough damage as is. I was, getting Pulse leveled up to the max as fast as humanly possible. I had these other abilities unlocked, and of course, when the ult is up, level your ult. But getting this to the max, it is so strong. You're going from 20 to 60 in damage per attack, and then 15% of your magical power is getting added on top of that. So when you get magical damage on top of everything else from your gear, it's going to be crazy. And the slow is 25% throughout, from level 1 to level 5. It's 25%. And it's a duration of 5 seconds. It's just so strong. It's so strong. The duration of 5 seconds is so long. And with the build that we're going to be using, it just became unbelievable. You feel like you have it for a half hour with the build we're going to be using. You got then her 3 is banished. At a ground target location, Freya banishes her enemies into the air for a short time. The enemies can't be hit or take action while in the air. You're going to want to have it unlocked. It definitely could save your life. It could definitely help in your initiations, where if you knock someone up in the air, you immediately after that, you pop your Pulse. If they're a single target, you pop your Radiate on top of that, and then by the time they land, you're just going boom, 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 and they're going to just melt. Their health is going to melt. They're going to try and run away as fast as they possibly can, and you're going to probably have them to a quarter health or dead in that time period, because to finish it off, if they are kind of getting away, is her ult. is so strong. Freya uses her cloak of feathers to fly above the battlefield, where she fires down blasts of magical damage up to 4 times while flying. Freya can't be hit when at full ascension and can cancel at any time. So, of course, like a regular ability, if you want to end it soon, maybe you killed your target, there's no one else around, there's no minions around, there's nothing, you just want to get back down and keep on moving, boom, you can cancel it. But it's so strong from the beginning to end, 120 to 240, plus 35% of your magical power on top of everything. And with all these, you've got magical lifesteal 15%. It's such a strong god for 3v3 for a mode that's so small. For the lanes that are small and the jungle that's small, you're not going to be able to run away from the pulse. You're going to experience the pulse. You're not going to be able to really get away from the banish. It is so strong. And with the build, it just gets stronger on top of everything. So let's look at the build. To start off, Telekind's Ring. If you don't use it, that's fine. That's understandable. Maybe you have another piece you like, but I love getting Telekind's Ring as fast as humanly possible. 45 magic power, 30% attack speed. Your basic attacks hit deal 35 additional magic damage to the target. So strong. So strong. Unbelievable. Give it a shot. With your 2 doing all that damage and that area damage, you're going to feel so powerful early game, and you're not going to get it from the start of the match, but you get the tier 2, maybe throw in a tier 1 boots with it. I think 1 mana pot with that to start off the match, and you'll eventually get it. You'll get there. You'll feel strong. Then I get the Shoes of Magi. I get a little bit of penetration, magic power, movement speed. Basic boots with this. Just going for that minimal pen early game, just in case they're tank. If they see a Freya there, they might want to go magical protection really fast because they know Freya's damage capabilities. And this will at least give you that little bit extra pen to be able to do some damage. Let me just X these out so we can see the stats currently. So you're 1.61 on attack speed right now with this build. Then you get Hasten Putalis, as I like to call it. You get 30% attack speed, 10% movement speed. When base attack hits target, the attack movement speed debuff is removed from you 1 second. So you're staying on the target the whole way through. Now with Freya, you get your banish. You pop her 2. Your basic attacks are now ranged attacks. You're doing area damage. You're doing area slows. You 25% slow on top of all of that. And now you've got this 30% attack speed from here. You've got 30% attack speed from here. You've got magic power from here that's layering into her abilities. It is so strong. And then you get movement speed on top of all of that. Your attack speed is sitting at 1.89 right now. And now where this comes into effect is her 2. It's a duration of 5 seconds. The more basic attacks you could do in those 5 seconds, the more attacks you're doing. And the more slows and the more lifesteal you're getting. It really kind of snowballs at this point with this build. And these first 3 pieces, you're just chasing after people, just doing your attacks, and they're trying to run from you as fast as they possibly can. And it's unbelievably strong. I really didn't expect how strong it would be at this point, but I was so pleasantly surprised. And now Freya is one of my favorite gods to play, and all because of Let's Learn and the recommendation of people in the chat. It made me be like, wow, I don't need to play my hunters as much. I don't need to play the normal mages of like Hebo, Chronos, and stuff like that. I have this great hidden treasure right here that the people in the higher ranks play a lot, but you play in the regs you don't see as often. But she can win games all by herself. She's unbelievable. Then I get 4th piece, Demonic Grip. You just saw the attack speed jump up 2.13, and like we were saying, for those 5 seconds, now you're getting a ton more attacks with her too. You're getting 60 magical power to layer into all of your abilities, like the ult that gets that extra percentage damage. Now your basic attacks reduce your target's magic protection by 8% for 3 seconds. It's basically the executioner for this build, but it's just so strong. At this point in time, 2.13 in attack speed. You're getting maybe, 10 hits off, 11 hits off with her too, of ranged hits on a character that, could be great from melee or ranged. You got the knock up, the banish, going to your 2. If it's single target, pop your 1. Now with all this extra damage and the attack speed, you don't even have to be close to that person. You just go pong, pong, pong with the haste and fatalis. You're staying on them. They can't run away from you. And if they do, boom, go into your ult. And now with all the extra magical damage you've got, you're doing so much damage. And if you didn't feel strong at this point, and maybe you wanted more, you just want to add damage, you've got these two choices right here, Rada Tahuti or Bancroft's Talon. I preferred at this point to go for Bancroft's Talon. I really like it. 100 magical power, just straight magic power. That's layering into your abilities. 12% magical lifesteal. It's not a ton, but with Freya, you already have your passive lifesteal, so it's layer on top of that, and then you get 1 additional magic power per 1% of your missing health. So, what is that? 75 additional magic power if you're sitting at a quarter health on top of the 100 you already have. It's like, yes, please hit me. Please, I want to take a few hits before, I really start opening up my ult and this and that. So you go in for the fight, you take a few hits, you're sitting at half health, now you go into your ult. You can't take damage, but you could deal out a ton of damage. It's unbelievable. And then, why not just finish off? You've already got a pretty good amount of pen from your demonic grip. You could just go straight into more damage at this point. Now, boom, Rod Tahuti, 125 magic power, MP5, at this point in time, it doesn't even matter. But then the passive increases magic power by 25%. You've already been building magic power. Now you're sitting at 469 in magic power alone. You've got 2.13 in attack speed, so your 2 is doing tons of hits, and all of those hits are getting boosted by this 469 magic power. It is insane. The rest of the pieces here are kind of just, maybe you want to do Polynomicon instead of Bancroft's. Using an ability gives you next base attack within 8 seconds. 75% of your magic power is additional magic damage. It can only be applied once every 3 seconds. Pretty much it's going to happen maybe 3 or 4 times in a fight, depending on the fight length. But I just personally like the straight, magic power from Bancroft's Talon. I want Freya to have her magic power there at all times, and then getting that extra up to 99 magic power on top of everything else. It's in my opinion, I think it finished off the build, and I really enjoyed it. But if you want to have straight kind of pen and damage, you could get Obsidian Shard maybe instead of Tahuti, or Obsidian Shard instead of Bancroft's, or Obsidian Shard. I kind of wouldn't get it instead of Demonic Grip because you want the attack speed. But it's not bad. And then we also tried out Spirit of Deso, which is so expensive, but it's 120 magic power. So I would get, Tahuti and then Deso, and then you get the cooldowns reduced by 8, so you can repop your 2 just in case, or your banish. It wasn't horrible. You get 20 magical pen on top of everything else. It wasn't horrible, but we'll say the final build, these 6 with Tahuti and Bancroft's interchangeable, kinda. I would say Bancroft's first, though, as 5th piece instead of Tahuti. This 6th piece is just you're gonna have so much fun because you're gonna be so strong that it's just gonna be kind of like just a fun game, like a kid's game, a child's game. It's going to feel so easy. Definitely give it a shot. But if you have a build you do that you feel stronger, throw it out there. Put it in the comments. Let us know. Let us know live on the stream. And then the final god of this video, Odin. Odin, so strong early game. If an enemy dies in Odin's Ring of Spears, Odin permanently gains physical power. This can stack multiple times, 5 per stack, and max of 10 stacks. So that's 50 physical power you can have at the end of it. OP. OP. Odin lunges his target location, doing damage to all nearby enemies. The damage ranges from 120 to 300. 70% of your physical power is thrown into this ability, kind of like Freya. You're going to be wanting to get some physical power. I wouldn't level up the 1 right away. I did often do my 2, the Raven Shout, because it was a shield. I like shields. If you're going Odin, often you will be the tank for that match. You're going to want to have at least some survivability early game to late game. Odin summons a flock of ravens that create a shield around him. When the shield expires, it explodes outwards, dealing damage to nearby enemies based on how much health it had remaining. If the shield is at full health, it deals additional bonus damage The shield will not expire while Odin is using lunge and will always detonate upon landing. So you level up your 2 to the max, so you could jump in there and detonate it with, your 1 with your nice little lunge. You jump in there, pop it on people, and you could do half people's health early game. And then late game, you're still going to be doing okay damage, but it's just early game is so strong. And then shield health goes from 100 to 400. Then 60% of your physical power gets put into that. So it's something I like to get leveled up as fast as possible. Of course, I'm going to get all the rest of the abilities, but every time ability 2 is ready to upgrade, I was upgrading it, and it was coming in really handy, especially in the fights. If you can get it to 400 as fast as you can, it's gonna help you be able to stay in fights longer. And then if you get cooldown reduction, so strong, so strong. Odin is kind of like the tanky guy that you're gonna want to be jumping in there, doing the damage, and then using your 3 as best as possible in the fights, getting as many targets as you possibly can. But he's not the type of survivor that's going to be able to for a crazy long time. I mean, depending on whether you time your jumps and everything, he can be a uber survivor, but it is much harder than, let's say, a Geb or a Bacchus, like we mentioned earlier. Odin does a sweeping spear attack that hits twice, dealing damage and slowing all enemies around him on the first hit. So you're getting a little bit of a slow. If you need to save your teammates, you could do the 3, get the slow. You're going to do damage. It does not do a ton, but it can hurt pretty good. It's definitely an amount of damage no one wants to experience, and the slow is a 40% slow, so it's something you want to be utilizing really at good times. You jump in, you're going to pop your shield, and then you immediately do your 3, so they're not moving as fast. They're going to get hampered by that. It's going to give you damage dealers an easier chance to maybe get a root or a stun, and it's really going to make the enemy team get a little bit messed up by seeing, this big Odin jumping in and all the damage is going to be done from the 2 and the 1 combo. That with a 3 going off, they're not even realizing, oh, wait, I'm slowed too on top of this. It's strong. It's a pretty good, 2-1-3 strong combo. And then if you damage dealers hasn't finished people off, by then you're going to want to pop your ult. Odin summons a wall of spears that blocks his enemy's movement, but Odin and his allies may move freely through it. It does not block attacks. Enemies inside the ring have their attack speed lowered and are unable to heal. Odin is immune to slow and root effects while in his ring. So if the enemy team has a Chang or an Afro, get them inside the ring as fast as you possibly can, and that's when your team's going to want to melt them. Healing reduction of 100%. No heals are happening. No lifesteals happening. You're going to be able to house a team. The more of them you can get in there, the better. And now that Odin can walk out of the wall, it's just so strong. And in a 3v3 scenario where the lanes are small, the jungle is small, this can be that thing to save you from enemies chasing, or it could be the thing to house the whole enemy team in a small jungle area where they have nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Your damage dealers can walk in or out as they please and just do all the damage they could possibly want. If you're versing a Hebo, though, you might want to be a little bit careful. Might want to save your jump, because that Hebo ult is going to most likely go off the second the walls go up, because he's going to be freaking out that he's going to take so much damage. He doesn't want to be in there. There's no heals. There's nothing that can save him. He has no peel in that scenario. So definitely keep that in mind if you go in there, jump in ult. Have your jump ready, or your shield ready, or something ready. It's going to help you out a lot in that scenario. Let's go into the last gear build of this video. Kind of the same as Bacchus and Geb, wear breastplate. The boots, whether Warrior Tabby or Ninja Tabby or Bulwark of Hope, are kind of interchangeable depending on the comp you're versing. If you're versing a Hebo, get Bulwark. Definitely get Bulwark. You want Bulwark. You want to stop his damage, because he's going to be able to melt Odin and do a lot of poke to Odin, so that Odin can't initiate as much as he would like and as often as he'd like. But other than that, Breastplate of Valor, first piece, very strong. Getting that cooldown reduction, getting your shield up as often as possible, the jump up, the ult up, the 3 up, is going to help you from early game to late game. And with Odin, since he's an early damage dealing god, he's an early type god, you need to have a comp that can be early with Odin, Without having all that damage output from early damage dealers, Odin kind of will be held back a little bit because you need to do damage as fast as you can. Odin isn't a tank. Odin doesn't get natural protections and other than his two, and the lack of heals in his ult for the enemy team, and the ability to walk through it. He doesn't have too much as per survivability. So I would definitely recommend cooldown reduction first. Let's clear out the build really quick. But yeah, so you start off with Breastplate of Valor. You get 151 in your protection from physical, so at least hunters you don't have to worry about. Then you go into I was sometimes getting Bulwark next, depending on what the team comp was, because I feel that for Odin he is a little bit of a squish. So if they're poking you a lot and getting your health down, even with the shield and the cooldown reduction, it did sometimes help to have the bulwark to keep me in the fights a little bit longer, to give my damage dealers a chance to do the damage they could possibly do. And then, of course, warrior tab, you again, physical power, because Odin's physical power does add into his abilities. So having that extra physical power really did help out a lot. And then at this point, I did find that Jotun's Wrath really came in handy. You get physical power, another 40 on top of your physical power, now adding into your abilities, making them stronger. 150 mana. When Odin he does eat up a little bit of mana. He's definitely not the most mana hungry, but it does help out a little bit. Now you get a little bit of physical pen. He is a damage dealing support in a way, a warrior. He can deal out a lot of damage in early game. He gets a chance to do a lot of damage. In mid to late game, he does fall off. So having a little bit of pen does help you here, but the cooldown reduction, getting your shield up as often as possible, your jump up, your ult up, it's going to help you out so much. It's going to keep you in those fights. It's going to keep you doing a lot in the fights. I did find a lot of the comps I versed at this point. Wingblade came in handy, getting the health, getting the crowd control reduction, the attack speed, movement speed. It all came in handy. I mean, the attack speed and movement speed is on the lower end out of all the pieces, but the extra health and then the immune to slows every 30 seconds, it really it came in handy of going in, popping your ult, and then walking out of your ult, or jumping and then your slow from your 3 together with your immunity. You could go in ult, walk back out, let your damage dealers now have the chance to get you that extra stack of power from the passive. You're going to really need to get your ult off and get kills inside that ult. That's like your damage dealers, every time your ult is up, they need to be looking to do some damage. Unless the enemy team has a jumper on their team that could just jump over the wall and hit your damage dealers, they really need to be going in and getting you those stacks as fast as possible, because that's going to keep you going from mid game to late game with Odin. You're gonna really need it. And that final piece, it depended. If I was needing to do a lot more damage, I'd get Titan's Bane. You get 30 physical power and the 33% physical penetration on top of everything. Or Mantle of Discord, getting more cooldown reduction, getting your shield up more often, getting another CC to help out Odin with his slows and everything once you're in the ult, if they focus you, if there's a Hebo there. There's so many of these scenarios. And then having the physical protection, magical protection on top of everything. This piece could also be your fourth piece if you want to get it instead of Jotun's. It's going to have a good amount of cooldown reduction, you're getting those protections, and you're getting a CC. So instead of the Jotuns, they're really interchangeable depending on if you're needing more power, 40 physical power right there, or if you need more protection, 60 and 60. Really strong pieces of gear. But, same as all the others, if you have a different gear build, let me know, put it in the comments, or come by the stream. And we'll try it out. We'll give it a go. But that should sum up this 3v3 video of all these beautiful gods, the Odin, the Freya, the Kali, the Geb, the Bacchus, and the players themselves. But thank you for watching. If you liked it, definitely like, comment, or subscribe to YouTube. And if you want to see these Let's Learns happen live, come by the stream Monday through Friday from 7 p.m. Eastern to about 11:30 Eastern. But yeah, hopefully you liked the video, and see you soon. Bye-bye!